and welcome to this round of Japan Cultural Expo. Today we're going to be learning more about Japanese popular culture, which covers cinema, television, video games, cosplay, and music. And so I'm going to hand over to those Please enjoy.
Good afternoon, everybody. On that side. Good afternoon, everybody. That is a noise befitting your number. Well done. My name is Les Allen. I'm part of the Geek XP community here in South Africa. We help put on events. We help guide people in their journey into various aspects of pop culture. We'd first like to thank the Embassy of Japan in South Africa for inviting us here to have a stall, demonstrate what we're about and how you can be involved in various aspects of Japanese pop culture here in South Africa. So I want to issue that thank you to them. It is a great one. Before we get, I made a slight tweak. We did this presentation yesterday, but I made a slight tweak, so you guys are in line. So I've added a little bit extra. We're going to talk about a number of things that you see on the screen there, but probably a prevailing thought that you should carry when it comes to your geek interests. Now, when I say your geek interests, it could be sport, it could be music. To me, being a geek is whatever you're passionate about. It's not just comics, it's not just cosplay, it's not just movies. You can be a movie geek, you can be a cross-stitch geek, you can be a bonsai geek. Whatever you're passionate about, that's what you're geeky about. Now, the term from sapiens to loons. For those people who are familiar with the computer game industry, you might be familiar with Kojima Productions and the guy who runs it up, Hideo Kojima. He put this thought forward. So we are all Homo sapiens, but the idea is for us to move forward from that concept. And he says, from the moment we enter this world, we instinctively invent ways to have fun. We want to share our inventions with those around us. We are not asked to do this, nor do we need reasons to create. It is simply who we are. We find one another and we compete against one another. We laugh together, we cry together, we're all playing together. Our experiences bind us and liberate us. To share our most valuable experiences, we create stories. We invent tools and we evolve the art of play. Playing is not simply a pastime. It is the primordial basis of imagination and creation. Thus, to be told that Homo ludens, those who play, are simultaneously Homo faber, those who create. Even if the earth, stripped of life and reduced to a barren wasteland, our imagination and creation and our desire to create will persevere beyond survival. It will provide hope that flowers may one day bloom again. The important point here is that when you play, it unlocks your creativity, it unlocks your imagination. And it doesn't matter what you're focusing on when you do that. If you're a rabid sports fan, it helps unlock imagination of what more can be done. And that's every aspect of popular culture. So whatever you're geeking out about, please remember that what you're doing is activating your imagination, and when that happens, it unlocks creativity that helps you in every area of life. So, with that, we're going to move forward and talk about an amazing level of creativity with Gundam kits. Now, I have Paul and I have Jeff, and we have a participant, a volunteer, who's going to help us with a presentation. But Paul and Jeff run GUNPLA South Africa. GUNPLA South Africa is the organization's group that brings in, imports these models into South Africa, and we sell them at the Nexus and on their website. So we're going to start a tour of what Gundam actually is and how you can start getting involved in it. So Paul, what is a Gundam? What does it actually mean?
Hey everybody. Okay, so what is Gundam? Gundam is one of the longest running Japanese animation series, or Japanese cartoons. It is a pop culture phenomenon. It spans many, many different iterations of itself, from the classic series all the way to the most recent series now, which is called The Witch from Mercury. It's very technical, we don't need to get into that, but it's really, really popular in Japan. In fact, there was a statistic that at one point in the early 2000s that credited that, or that put out the stats that there was 3 Gundam kits for every person in Japan. So that's how popular Gundam is. Okay? And what is Gunpla? Gunpla is Gundam and plastic models smushed together, and that forms the word Gunpla. And these are Gunpla. They're basically Japanese model kits based off the Gundam and the mecha from the anime series, and they are amazing because you basically can get a box, you can take a kit out, you can clip off the parts, you can pop them together, and they look great. So that's pretty much what Gundam is, in a nutshell.
Can we start?
And then also just Jeff, this is my business partner, Jeff, and good friend. He's going to be building some Gunpla for you guys today, and he's joined by his assistant, Aria, who was, around the store and everything, or around our stand earlier, and she was really, really interested in all of this stuff, so we figured, we're going to show you guys how easy it is to build this stuff by bringing in somebody who is interested in the kits, but hasn't ever built one before. So, cool. Back to you, Liz.
So a couple of good points there. The Gundam animated series has been running since 1979. So this is a series that's been running on and on for well over 40 years. Every time they release a new series of the anime, more of these Gundam robots are designed, so more kits are released. Now, as Paul iterated, they're kits. You have to build these. However, there are different levels of complexity when it comes to these kits. You've got people, or you can start with a very, very basic kit that requires no extra tools whatsoever. You can simply pop it out of the frame and start building it, which is what's going to happen here. Now, our presentation should take slightly less than an hour. So in the extra time between now and when the Aikido people come and start meeting each other, you can come up and take a look at the Gundam models and you can ask more questions, but we also have a stand in the aisle and you can come and ask more questions afterwards. Now, we know they're very cool, they look amazing, but how do you get started in this? It might look a little bit daunting for people. How do you get started?
Oh, that's a great question, Liz. So how would you want to get started? You would have to start by going to a really, really cool website like gunplasa.com. Where we actually stock a lot of the kits, but a lot of geeky stores are starting to bring Gundam into South Africa, which is pretty cool. So you need to get your first kit, but what is your first kit going to be? It's probably going to be, if you've never bought one of these kits before, it's going to be one of these guys. And this is called an entry grade. And you're going to hear me mention things like entry grade and high grade and all kinds of stuff. But the important thing is entry grade is a kit that you can build without having to use any tools, without any paint, and once it's done, it is pretty good looking. Okay, it's posable, you've got a full-on action figure that you can mess around with, pose with, you can live out your giant robot action fantasies if you want to. But let me get into the grades quickly. Okay, so, a lot of us we start with something there called SD. Okay, SD stands for super deformed. In Japan, there's a lot of cool stuff. The culture loves to bring a lot of things into a cute phase, and Gundam is definitely part of that. So it's SD Gundam is a cute Gundam, and these are normally the kind of Gundams that you would get into when you were a little kid. You would bug your mom like, oh, please buy me this toy, and you'd be able to build it. So that's SD. Then the next one that you get into is your entry grade, which have a realistic proportion, but are designed for ease of access into the hobby. And then you have the more common grade, which is called your higher grade. And that is where guys like Jeff and myself tend to live in, because that is the common grade that you'll find. That's where Bandai releases most of its variety and variations. And yeah, that's where you get a lot more complexity. So every grade that you go up in adds complexity, okay? And that complexity is not necessarily difficulty, it's just more work to do. And then as you go further, you get this bad boy over here, that's master grade. And if you guys look on the table over here, you'll see there's a big red guy. That's an example of a master grade, a really big example of a master grade. And next to him is a grayish dude as well. And they're both at 1 to 100 scale, and they are very complex. So you no longer have a model kit that's just about surface detail, you have a model kit that's all about internal detail now. Frames, pistons, cool little gimmicks like when it bends down, the armor spaces out, all the kind of, you know, spacey stuff we like to geek out about. And then you get this monster over here, perfect grade. Perfect grade is 1 to 60 scale, okay, but it's like that big, okay, and wow, okay, the complexity is next level. You're looking at lots of posability, inner frame detail, like you'll geek out in a big way. And the biggest geeks, one of the world's biggest geeks is a guy called Adam Savage, I'm sure you know him from Mythbusters. He recently built one of those and it blew his mind. So it'll blow his mind, it'll blow your mind. And those are amazing, okay? But we recommend it for a more dedicated fan, because they are a little bit expensive and they do require a lot more hobby time.
There you go, that's it.
The parenting expert, Nikki Bush, local parenting expert, we had her at Icon Comics and Games Convention back in 2016. We asked her a very important question about the game Minecraft, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with. Why is Minecraft important? Is it good for kids' development? And she said it is. It's very good because it helps kids understand and learn spatial geometry, movements, etc. But every hour spent on Minecraft,
That's the smallest part. So now
equally in the real world using your hands to put something together. Because when you're playing the game Minecraft, things are developing inside of you naturally, and that's great. But you need the physical experience of putting stuff together to help the neurons solidify. This is why something like Gundam is excellent. Something like Lego is excellent. Because you're taking the theoretical, you're following the instructions, now you're putting these things together. As Paul is taking you through all of these different models, as you explore this, you might want to start branching out and doing your own thing. You can do things called kit bashing. Occasionally, you'll have pieces left over from your model. And you decide, all right, cool, what can I make with that? That's now entering into that realm of creativity that's so important. It's the imagination and creativity. From a young age with these models, you can start developing dexterity. You're following and interpreting the instructions. So it's not just a robot that you put together and it looks great on the wall. There's an edutainment aspect to putting Gundam kits together. Paul, how much does it cost to get into it? We talked about the models, and we talked about sometimes we need tools, sometimes we don't need tools. How easy is it from a cost perspective to get involved? Boom.
Okay, Les, I just totally want to add something to what you said earlier. This being a Japanese cultural expo, you guys have been checking out stuff like flower arrangements, you've been watching some of the martial arts. When it comes to something like model building or like Gundam, where it's different from something like Lego, because I'm sure a lot of you guys are sitting there going, it's kind of like Lego, but it's different. The thing is that Gundam kits are more refined, okay, than Lego is. Lego has got a polygonal look to it, and Lego's great. Please, I'm not dissing Lego. Lego's amazing. But where there are different is that building model kits has a lot of repetitive tasks, and there's a lot of meditation in those repetitive tasks. It's very much like when you do calligraphy. Sometimes the calligraphy is not as important as mixing the ink, and that's the part that's really, part of the process, part of like a meditative healing process. So there's also that with Gundam kits. But yes, let's get into the pricing. If you guys want to get into this hobby, the entry grade, like the one that Jeff and Aria are building right now, that'll set you back between 300 and 400. Okay, and everything you need is in the box to build it, because you just need the kit and you need your hands. So that's pretty simple. Taking it a little bit further to your higher grade kits, to the HG stuff, you're going to be looking at about 550, and you're going to need to look at getting yourself a tool set. Jeff, would you mind if I can steal your nippers quickly, seeing as you're not using them right now? You're going to need one of these bad boys. These are like 250. So you're looking at about 700-800 rand to get into a hobby from a high grade perspective. Now you're committed. So you're looking at master grade kits, start at about 1.2 and they range up to about 2.8, sometimes 3.5. but you're getting something really, really big, really complex, and it's something you can really dedicate your time to. You know, there's not a lot of stuff that we can build and do that you can put your own personality into, and that is what I personally love about building model kits, and by extension, what I love about Gunpla. And then you're looking at the perfect grade. Perfect grades are heavier. They do sit at about between 6,000 and 10,000 Rand, but that is because you're dealing with a much bigger kit. So, coming back to getting into the whole hobby, it's as cheap as 550 on average if you want to get into the Gundam building hobby. Plus, what you get for free from Jeff and I is we have a community called Gunpla SA. We call ourselves the Build Force. Yes, it's on our shirts. We're that cool. Basically, it's a whole bunch of us that get together, we talk a lot of rubbish, and we build model kits, but we also share knowledge, we share information, we share tips and tricks and our skills, we help each other grow, we critique, and yeah, when I say critique, it's not even like, oh, your kid sucks, it's more like we help each other get better, through critique, through feedback, and yeah, we've got a pretty good friendship going on right now from it, so yeah, that comes for free when you start Gundam kits.
Well, that takes me into my next slide. It's almost like you knew where we were going. Once you get involved in this, what happens next? Now, the Gundam team, the Build Force team, actually have build leads. As part of the community, this is what happens. That's one of the things about being otaku, that you have a passionate interest in your geek pursuit. Sometimes the word otaku is used pejoratively, it's used as an insult, but really you should embrace it. I'm passionate about this thing, I love this thing, but what I want to do is find other people, hopefully that don't know about it, so I can convince them to like it as well. Otherwise, I want to find other people in this community that I can share this enjoyment with. And this is one of the things that Gunpla SA does really, really well with the Build Force. April 1st at our Nexus venue in Randburg, they'll be having a build day. Come along, sit down, watch how the build is being done, grab a kit off the shelf, open it up, and start building. You can sit there, work away a few hours, and start enjoying this communal aspect of Gundam models, get recommendations. So what's a really cool Gundam that I can look to build? Or even get recommendations of the anime. What anime should I be looking at? What's the cool ones to start with? What's the latest ones to move on to, etc.? So how do we extend this even further from a community aspect?
So when Jeff and I started Gunpla SA, our motto, keep building joy, is a very, very important thing to us. Okay, anybody can sling and throw model kits and sell model kits to you. Jeff and I are about building a community, okay? And we've discussed the community now with the Build Force and getting that up to speed. But taking it further, where Jeff and I want to see it go, is we want to see people in schools doing this. We want to see guys entering competitions. And eventually, one day, we would like to take this hobby further into what's called GBWC, the Gundam World Cup. Now, currently, South Africa is not eligible for it. We are ineligible to enter that competition because there's not enough builders here. They don't recognize our position. So that is kind of a goal. That is where you can take this hobby further. That's one side. The other side is, actually Jeff and I were talking about it in the car on the way here this morning. He asked me, what has Gundam done for me as an adult? Because him and I both got into Gundam when we were quite young. What has it done for me? And I was thinking wow, it actually has done quite a lot for me because, I mean, professionally I'm in the creative industry. That's code for, I work on a computer and make graphics. But Jeff's brother, for example, is an architect. And he got into being an architect from building Gundam stuff. So that's also one way in which you can take this further and how this hobby can prepare you for other things further, help you discover a skill or a skill set within yourself that you may not have realized was there in the first place, or that you may only find later from, I don't know, studying or something.
So we now have community building, you know more about the models, you know what the expectations are for moving into the hobby. We also know there's going to be a community that's going to be very supportive. And while Paul did say that we're currently ineligible for the World Championships, there are competitions that we run locally. What is this particular competition we've got on screen right now, Paul? How is this different to like a normal World Cup type thing?
Okay, so this is our what we call the build-off competition, and this was Jeff and my way of trying to get the local scene ready for bigger competitions. So what we did is we used the same rules and the same judging criteria that the overseas competitions use. To get guys prepared, to get guys in the right mindset. But also because we wanted to see how cool our local builders were. We wanted to push them. Because we're more about building than consumption. So we want you guys to build more kits than you actually get. So here are some of the winners that here are the three winners. The first place is actually here on the table. And it's a beautiful kit. It was actually inspired by a game called Death Stranding, a Hideo Kojima game. And it's a wonderful tribute to that. If you guys look closely, you'll see this one's got a bit of a Spider-Man vibe to it. In fact, the builder actually called it Iron Spider, and this guy went completely on his own direction trying to make the coolest robot ever. So, I mean, the skill level is pretty high, and the guy who won, that's his first Gundam kit. Okay, so he had that skill, he had built other model kits, transferred those skills, and that was their first kit. So, I imagine there's somebody in this crowd here who's a pretty amazing model builder, and maybe you don't realize it yet. So that's pretty much where the competition can start, and what Jeff and I are trying to do. How is it different? Sorry, just to actually answer your question there. How is it different? It's not internationally recognized yet, but Jeff and I are both working on that, and we are building a national scene for this so that there will be finals and championships and all that kind of stuff. Hopefully from as soon as next year.
If you would like to know more about Gundam Gunpla SA, the details are here on the screen. You can check out the website. There is a Facebook page, there is an online store. If any of this has piqued your interest, we're right the very, very first display in the aisle. Come visit us. All the models will be there on display. You can ask questions. You can check out some of the sprues. The sprues themselves that contain the pieces. One point that I would like to make is there are pirated versions of these kits. There are black market versions of these kits, and we would very much warn you to stay away from these. What Paul's going to show you now is, it may look very, very simple, but it is incredibly technical and difficult to do. The sprue that he is holding is normally plastic extruded in one piece, but that has 3 separate colors on it. That is highly difficult to do. When you start finding off-market, off-brand Gundam kits, the pieces don't fit as well, they don't stay together as well, and you don't have this level of quality. So again, it might look really, really simple, or it's just plastic with different colors. That is really challenging to do, and they had to develop new technology just to be able to make those screws. So if you are interested in this, Paul, Jeff, and the team will be at the tables there. You're welcome to come over and take photos. Paul, we have any comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in. If you guys are looking to get into the hobby and you want to support the Gundam scene locally, or the Japanese model kit scene locally, the best way to do it is to get into the scene by getting into a kit. And if you have an Instagram account or a TikTok or something cool like that, please by all means share images of your build. Tag Gunpla SA, tag us in there. Help us recognize you, help us find you. Let us grow the build force. Let us get you guys recognized. Let's show Bandai in Japan that there are builders in South Africa, that there are people that love Gundam in South Africa, and as Les mentioned, please avoid knockoff and bootleg kits. It almost pretty much destroyed the industry in the early 2000s here. Locally, a few guys had some knockoff kits, and people would just see Gundam and be like, I can't build those, they fall apart, they're rubbish. And it completely gave the wrong opinion or the wrong perception of the brand. Okay. Otherwise, guys, thank you very much. Thank you very much for checking it out, for dealing with me. And if you're excited or interested in it, please come visit the table quickly and check out all the cool stuff that's going on here. And can I just say a huge thanks to Aria? Can I have an applause for Aria, please? Who has built a very, very cool kit. I mean, look, there's already a chest, and the head has already been built. That's pretty impressive, hey? And you've never built a Gundam before, hey?
Hi. No, I haven't.
So guys, thank you again. Thank you again, Aria. Nice one, Jeff. Yes, I will first bump you, and I'll look at the Gundam piece. Thank you, buddy. Cool, guys. Thank you very much. Sure.
Thanks very much, everybody. Round of applause for the Gundam team. Now, while the team continues their build, they'll build for the rest of the hour. We're going to switch on to another topic. It's very important in Japanese pop culture, and it's become a worldwide phenomenon.
Yeah, the orientation.
And that is cosplay. Cosplay started in Japan. The word cosplay is a portmanteau of costume and play. So before we start talking about how big cosplay has actually gotten, what does it actually mean? What does cosplay actually mean? Cosplay means that you emulate a character that you're very fond of. You like a character, it could be from a comic book, an anime, a manga, TV, movie, whatever. And you recreate that costume and you embody that character from a performance aspect. Now, cosplay can range from the very, very simple to the very expensive. But the idea is that you make the costume. Now, and the biggest cosplay competition in the world, South Africa, for the last 5 years, has been the only country in Africa invited to participate. You have to be invited to join this particular competition. And in 2019, just prior to COVID, there were over 40 countries competing in this competition. What did that actually mean? Teams of 2 create costumes and create a performance skit of 2.5 minutes. 40 countries around the world had their regionals. The winners flown to Japan to compete on the world stage. What does that actually mean? The World Cosplay Summit simply is massive, and South Africa has a team waiting in the wings to go to the 2023 competition. They've actually been waiting in the wings since 2019. They were selected in second position. The first winner, the winning team in 2019, went to compete in the 2019 competition. The second place team was ready to go to 2020, and then COVID hit. And now, finally, WCS is going to be full-scale competition again in August in Nagoya. Nagoya is the spiritual home of cosplay in Japan. They will be competing for South Africa at the World Championships in August. This year, there were 20 teams competing in 2022. Because of COVID restrictions, not all the teams could actually get there. So, World Cosplay Summit decided to do something different.
Maybe it's the pollen.
A video submission competition. You can actually record your own 2.5 minute skit video and submit it. So they had 2 separate categories. Now, this is where you can take your cosplay to. You should never be pressured as to how good your cosplay is. Cosplay is about fun. It's about embodying a character that you enjoy, that you take inspiration from. But if you decide to, you can start taking your cosplay skills to another level, and then you can start making costumes like you're about to see. Cosplay can be as simple, legitimately as simple as cardboard. You can make a helmet out of cardboard. There are patterns that you can download on the internet. You get a box from Woolworths. You cut out that thing and you tape it together, and now you have a helmet, and that helmet forms the basis of any helmeted character that you may ever want to be. You don't need expensive plastics and expensive glue guns. It can be very simple, and it can just be done with a bit of tape, a cardboard box, and a bit of paint. But once you start getting involved in this and start experiencing what cosplay can be, you can really take it to another level. This year there will be 40 teams competing in the World Cosplay Summit in Nagoya. That's just a sample of the countries that South Africa will be competing against. The perennial favourites, Australia has won the competition a couple of times, the United States has won, France, Italy, Mexico is a very, very strong country, which has its own challenges. Sometimes with cosplay, you need to heat plastic and shape that plastic. Mexico, you can't do that because the heat there, the plastic just walks back. So they have to overcome some of these challenges with different techniques with fun and glue. So there's a number of countries that we will be competing, and on the screen just very briefly is the creed of what World Cosplay Summit actually represents. That it's an ever-evolving pop culture festival, but it builds bridges. It's a sharing of cultures. One thing about World Cosplay Summit is the character that you play must be Japanese. So no Thor, no Spider-Man, no Batman. It's got to be Japanese. So it's got to be from a manga, an anime, a Japanese computer game like Kingdom Hearts, something along those lines. That is the point that World Cosplay Summit is trying to bridge from a cultural exchange perspective. That you're partaking in the Japanese culture and it starts sharing that love of the culture across countries around the world. The teams that go to Japan go for 10 days and they get to spend that 10 days with the best cosplay teams in the world, eating ramen, drinking sake, partying, karaoke, and then performing on a championship stage against the best teams in the world. So if you are interested in cosplay, this is where you can start taking it too. Now, I mentioned that in 2022, there were restrictions as far as travel was concerned, so not all teams could get passports, not all teams could get to Nagoya to compete. However, this is a collection of some of the teams. Actually, this is a collection of all of the teams that were able to make it, and you can start seeing the level of their costume making expertise.
Did you see the circle with the flat edge? The alignment? Rotate it if it doesn't sit so nicely. Yeah, let me take this. Oh yes, I think you're right. Yes, yeah. So we flip it this way. And try again. I'm not going to push this. There you go. Yeah, when you feel that click. You mentioned about like why the country is popular. Because they make this. There's two holes. check too. I don't know if she said she's a good version. The previous one they had like flower arrangements here. So I don't know if it's the following year. She wants to do it as well.
Everything you saw was handcrafted. Everything was made.
It's for this area.
The winners
Misread.
for last year's event
We
on
can
stage
put them on the side here.
was Team
And we'll use
France.
them later.
Now, looking at that, some of you may recognize Sailor
What's the
Moon
next part that you're
as the
looking for?
costume.
No,
If you're not familiar with Sailor Moon, you've also known
She
about
doesn't
this.
know what Sailor Moon is.
If you're familiar with Sailor Moon, you know there are other sailors that represent other planets. Team France pulled off 7 costume changes in 2.5 minutes without leaving the stage.
Blonde.
It was stunning. We had no idea where they kept everything. But they did an amazing job. Team Australia came second, Team Philippines, or Team Thailand came third. Now the video competition, you would have seen in that video that Sweden was represented, but it was only one person. The other part of Team Sweden couldn't get their passport in time because the Swedish government had shut down all of the passport machines, all of them during COVID, and they couldn't get them up in time. So the organizer, one member of the team, couldn't get their passport. It just so happens that one member did have a passport, so she came over and was on stage by herself, but they won the video competition. So it was really touching that they did a live link to the partner back in Sweden while she was on stage, and they had to do the announcement that you both won. It was quite touching.
Don't need to rush, take it.
So World Cosplay Summit 2022 did a hybrid model. They'll be going full scale again with 40 teams this year, and Team South Africa will be represented. The selection trials for next year's World Cosplay Summit should be by the end of the year, if not early 2023. Now, we try to give plenty of time for teams to get prepared for this, because some of these teams take 12 to 18 months to create their costumes. Some of the Nordic countries actually go traditional and do hand stitching, old style hand stitching from like the Middle Ages. And it's authentic stitching all the way through their costumes. The level of detail, you're up against the world's best, but this is designed to inspire you. These are the things that we can do, that we can get there as well. 2022 was also a big year for the World Cosplay Summit because we ran an event in Saudi Arabia. It was the first international cosplay competition held in Riyadh at the Gamers 8th event. If you're familiar with Saudi Arabia, you would be familiar with certain rules that Saudi Arabia has, which made cosplaying quite the challenge. However, we got 42 teams from around the world flying into Saudi Arabia for a week, demonstrating what they can do with their costumes and how you can get around those rules and still look amazing. So it was a competition that ran in September 2022. It's very possible that it'll be running again this year. As I said, Team South Africa has been waiting in the wings. Team Bakayama, the cosplayers, Baka Sakura and Yamaka Yama.
Yeah, well, like you're building such a competition, and it's your first time building a Gundam. So, yeah, please take your time. Don't be rushed.
Flying across the end of July. They'll be flying across China. So World Cosplay Summit is an inspiration.
I still need to build the
and
armor.
there's plenty of videos online with skit performances from all previous years.
Similar to yours, I just
Go
want
to
to cut off my
YouTube,
parts.
look up World Cosplay Summit, you'll see some amazing skits. But now we're going to move on to another topic brought to us by the Nippon Foundation. Now, the Nippon Foundation has been running initiatives over the last 5 years. They're very concerned about the state of the environment, about climate change. So they've decided to broaden their horizons. There is a competition that they run in Japan that they are now going to run around the world. And it may sound odd when I initially tell you, because it's not something that we here in South Africa would ever think of.
This one's also got a
But
circle with the flag.
it's trash collecting as a team sport. Yeah, those are the words that I put in that sentence.
Well, don't worry.
Trash collecting,
It's your first one, so.
but doing it as a team sport. Now in Japan, why this is coming
great
from
so
this
far.
angle. If any of you have been to Japan, you probably remember that there aren't really trash cans on the street. There are no garbage bins. It is a personal responsibility for you to get rid of your own garbage. So the first time that I went there, I bought a can of Coke, I had myself a sandwich, I finished them, and I'm standing on the street corner looking for a garbage bin. And I could not find one. Because in Japan, it's self-responsibility. I need to help take care of my environment as well.
So are you looking for these
that I generate, I need to go and take home and dispose of myself. So I had nowhere to throw these things away. I had to put them in my bag and do it at the hotel. So in Japan, they decided, well, let's make this a competition. The aim is to create an event to realize the creation of clean and comfortable cities while still having fun and making it a sport. So this is one of the initiatives the Nippon Foundation put together, and they've been running it in Japan for a number of years. They even have a championship where they get all the teams together in one place to try and collect as much rubbish as they can. Now, if you understand that people don't throw away rubbish, that makes it much harder to try and find any rubbish to win this competition. However, they know that the world is in a dire place as far as the environment and climate change is concerned. So they're running a global competition. All of the countries that you see on the screen will be having a regional tournament. You might note that South Africa is there. Now, South Africa does have a slight issue occasionally with garbage and rubbish on the streets and in parks and stuff like that. So it's an initiative that we're going to find very, very interesting to do. As an example of some of the things around the world, Panama, Bolivia, Vietnam, Indonesia, they've run events like this before, and in less than 2 hours, 100 people have collected over 100 kilos of rubbish. So, they've invited South Africa to join in this year, and in July, in Cape Town, we will be running the very first SPOGOMI qualifier in South Africa. What this means is, get your team of 3 together.
Just need to push it a bit further.
Kids are allowed in this, however, if there are children in the teams, there's going to be 1 adult.
Yeah,
Why must there be 1
need
adult? Because the winning team flies to Japan in November to compete in the World Championships of Russia. Now you might think that's a little odd, but if you really want a trip to Japan, and you're doing something to help make the world a better place at the same time. So the Nippon Foundation is generously supporting these events around the world, and we will be launching more information in the first week of April. We'll be launching our registration website. You register your teams of 3. We'll be getting in Cape Town 2 hours. How much rubbish can you collect in a given area inside of 2 hours? You could be the winning team to go to Japan and compete against the best teams in the world at rubbish collection.
The robotics team, do you go to Japan if you like do summer?
Sorry, what is it? So that's the end of that presentation as far as Japanese pop culture is concerned.
First got
As I said, we do have a table in the aisleway. You're welcome to come over and ask us any questions about the manga, the anime that we have on display. The Gundam team will keep working for the next 20 minutes until the Aikido people come in by force and remove everybody. I want to thank you all very much for your attention, your participation, your interest. Again, any questions, please join us at the table.
I think the
One final note, again, thank you very much to the Embassy of Japan and South Africa for having us as guests. This has been an amazing event, and we hope that you learned something as well. You will be able to come up and take a look at the table for the next 20 minutes, and that's pretty much it. Thank you all again.
Thank you so much, Liz, Phil, and Jeff, for teaching us a little bit more about Japanese culture. Please do make sure to come and have a look at their things, both here and online. And you know the rest of this cultural expo. At 2 o'clock, we're going to be having a martial arts demonstration. Please be around for that. Thank you.
How difficult is it in between?
It's just different. So she has to relearn. So I'm going to use this one. Some of it's painted and it belongs to other people as well. So you can see.
You're gonna see me saving up these sort of devices.
They're all injected into a mold. Like the mold is two parts, it has like these designs on. And when they close the mold, they inject plastic that flows into the canvas. That's why you get these codes there. Like you see those four steps? That's where the injection point is. It's not 3D printing will take too long. These things are like seconds. Skeleton first, and then you build the armor on top. Similar like this. I'm building the internal skeleton, but that one's a bit more complex. You can see there's no painting. You see all the different colors in the head. The green in the eyes, the red in the chin, the yellow on the vent stain, the clear black scanner. They took the tabs on the runner and they sanded it down and they glued it together, scratch built. So it's not a part of your model.
It's so smart.
And obviously with the fabric, they, sew it together.
The amount of detail you can get into this.
So it's not, you can build them out of a box, but there's creativity beyond that. You can see all the backs we have. If you think about it, it's basically like a canvas. It's like, okay, once you build your kit, now how do you want to make it your own? Yeah. With the individual patterns, I painted those patterns in order to check my Thank you.
It is my pleasure.